Hello everyone, thank you guys so much for coming back to my channel. This video is actually an August wrap. So for this month I read a total of 6 books, and let me tell you, they did not disappoint. I actually read a lot of good stories this month, so stick around and you guys will hear the reviews. The first book that we're going to talk about is a book I read before, and it is Beautiful Bastard by Christina Lauren. So this book is part of the Beautiful series that Christina Lauren has. It is one of my favorites actually. Another one I don't recommend as much, but I guess that's why I decided to reread it, because I wanted to kind of just touch up on it. And it's a very easy read. The whole Beautiful series, they're pretty easy, pretty fun to read. So this book actually revolves around Chloe and Bennett. Bennett's family owns a big media business, super huge, everybody knows who they are, and Chloe is actually his assistant. Now Chloe used to work for Bennett's dad, so she knows all of their family, and Bennett just came back from France. He's now working side to side with Chloe. Bennett and Chloe actually do not like each other. Sorry if it looks a little bit different. I actually had to end the video to take care of some business. But let's get back to it. Again, talking about Beautiful Bastard. So yeah, Chloe and Bennett do not get along, but you know, Bennett kind of gives her a hard time and Chloe kind of just dishes it back to him. At some point, they both realize that tension is growing between them and they got to figure out what they want to do with it. They kind of take things to a next level. Of course, anytime you get involved with someone, especially in a work situation, things get crazy. And that's basically what happens in this book. Chloe and Bennett have to figure out what's worth taking a risk on and what's really not worth it for them, because of course their careers and their reputation are at stake. So now, my personal opinion, I love Chloe. I think she's an amazing character. I love the fact that she was strong, and Bennett was a jerk. I'm not gonna lie. There were times where I did not like him at all, and I thought that Chloe was too good for him. But again, he was very smart, and throughout the book you do get to see that he does care about Chloe and he's willing to help her. And yeah, so I think that's what makes him a great character, especially because, again, not very likable throughout the book at some points, but I loved Chloe. I love the character. Again, one of my favorite Christina Lauren's book. I highly recommend this one. Does not let you down. And it does have some sexual stuff in here, so if you're not for that, then this book is probably not for you. The next book I'm gonna go ahead and talk about is a book that actually, it broke my heart, I'm not gonna lie, and it is Before We Were Free by Julia Alvarez. So Before We Were Free is actually a coming of age story. So the story is told by Anita, a young girl who's living in the Dominican Republic with her family. As the days are passing by, she starts to notice that things are changing, not only within her family, but within her country. The story is told during the rule of the dictator Trujillo, and if you actually look into his reign, it was brutal. Like the things that he did to his country, to his people, to other people, I mean, just look into it, it's really sad. So during this time, Anita is actually starting to notice that a lot of her family members are either leaving to the United States, and some of her family members have actually gone missing. She doesn't really know what's going on. A lot of people obviously are keeping secrets from her because she is a young child. At this time, I think it's told when she's about 13 years old or so. So throughout this book, we get to see Anita's family kind of have to leave everything behind and go to another country in the US, which I think hits home for a lot of people. And it's really sad to read, especially from a child's point of view, what their family is risking and what they have to go through so that they could go to another country and kind of have freedom and safety. Of course, during this time, Anita doesn't really know why her family's leaving and why a couple of her family members have gone missing. She just kind of is not really understanding what's going on in her country. But throughout the story, we get to see what's really happening, and Anita actually uncovers certain things on her own. I think that the author did an amazing job at describing not only the beauty of the country and the beauty of the people, but also the pain that they're going through. Again, we get to see all of this through a younger girl, but you start to notice that her train of thought starts to change. She starts to realize that things are a lot different than what she originally thought. She goes from a really young, innocent girl with a lot of little corny jokes, and you know, she has like this crush on this little boy, and we kind of get to see her unfortunately go through a lot of pain and a lot of suffering. and we see that through her dialogue and the way that she sees the world, the way she describes things, the things that are important to her. As the chapters go on, we start to notice that this character is obviously realizing what's really important and what's not. I thought that again, the author did an amazing job at describing the country. She did an amazing job at describing the love between the family members. And not only that, but I thought that the family members were so strong. The mom, the dad, I mean, her parents were so strong, even her sister and her brother. And you know, there's this character, they're called Chucha. She was so funny, she was so strong. Again, amazing book. I can't tell you enough about it. I can tell you that I cried. Again, I cry a lot, so that's not surprising, but I definitely cried. I definitely recommend that book. Look into it. Again, look into Trujillo's reign in the Dominican Republic. See where this story has to be told. Another great book I read this month is Say You Still Love Me by K.A. Tucker. K.A. Tucker does not disappoint. I actually read 2 books of her this month, and Say You Still Love Me is definitely up on my list now of favorites. Let's get into it. So Say You Still Love Me is told by Piper's point of view. She's 29 years old. She's working at her dad's company where they do real estate development. She's working in a male-dominated world, and she's also working in the same office as her ex-fiance, David. And in this story, it goes from 29-year-old Piper working at her dad's office to 16 or 17-year-old Piper at a camp. During camp, she meets Kyle, who is the bad boy that she's supposed to stay away from, but her and Kyle have a connection and they kind of create this summer romance. It was honestly so cute to read about the summer romance. I thought it was adorable. It made me so nostalgic. I also really loved the characters in this story. I thought there were a lot of strong characters. So Piper, obviously when she's younger, she has Kyle. I loved him so much. He reminded me so much of Atlas from It Ends With Us by Colleen Hoover. You also have Piper's camping friends, Christina and Ashley, and then you have Kyle's best friend Eric from camp. All of those characters were so lovely. And then Piper, as a 29-year-old, still keeps in touch with Christine and Ashley, who are still great characters as they get older. And she also has David, her ex-boyfriend, who actually grew on me, and I love the friendship that they created. And she also has her assistant, who's awesome, and then Gus, who's the main security guard that she's known since she was young. So all of these characters are really strong. I didn't like her dad, but we're not even gonna get into that. Back to the story. Piper, she's at work one day and then she sees Kyle, and Kyle ignores her and he acts like he doesn't even know who she is, which definitely hurts Piper's feelings. I know it would hurt mine. And she doesn't really know what's going on, because keep in mind, when they left camp all those years ago, he completely cut contact with her and with all her friends. So she doesn't know what Kyle's been up to. She doesn't know if he's married, if he has children, if he's single. Now she knows he's working for the security office, because that's why he's there. He's a transfer. So again, the story is very beautiful. You'll see that they get tested a lot. Kyle and Piper have to kind of figure out what they want to do, what's important to them. And there's a lot of secrets that get uncovered that are very, very sad and very unfortunate. And I just love this story. I can't recommend this book enough. I know I've done it already, but I really hope that you guys read this one. It's definitely one of my favorites of this. I'm telling you guys, this month I read so many good books. Another book on that list is Shanghai Girls by Lisa Lee. This book, again, along with Before We Were Free, completely made me cry, completely broke my heart. I had to take a break from this one at one point because it was just so devastating. So let's just kind of get into what the book is about. It has to do with these 2 sisters that live in Shanghai, Pearl and May. These 2 girls live a pretty good life. The sisters are not wealthy by any means, but they're also not poor. They have a lot of freedom to do a lot of things that they want to do. They actually are models for this artist, so they just have a pretty good life all around. One day when they go home, their dad actually tells them that he gambled all of their money away, including the home, everything, and the only way that he could repay his debt back is by actually selling them. So the dad actually sold the girls to 2 gentlemen who are from China but currently live in the United States. The guys will come back to China, marry the girls, and then they will take them back to America. The girls end up getting married, unfortunately, and the girls realize that life as they know it no longer exists. So the girls do end up coming to the US, and it puts them through a really large test. The girls kind of realize that they have to depend on each other, and even as the story is told, you get to see the difference between them and how generation after generation, you know, everybody has to make sacrifices, but you kind of get tested and see the similarities between, for example, the girls and their mom. So beautiful story, highly recommend it. It is very sad, I'm gonna tell you guys that right up the front. It is so sad, it's so devastating. I've never actually have heard anybody recommend this book, so I highly recommend it. I think it needs more attention. It's beautifully told and it has amazing characters. So the last two books that I'm going to be talking about are books that I actually read on my phone, so I don't have the actual physical copy of them. Weld at Heart by K.A. Tucker continues with Kella returning to Toronto after she leaves Alaska once her father passes away. So then we find out that Jonah actually followed Kella to Toronto, where he told her that he could not live without her and he wanted to spend his time with her. So they decided that they would move to Alaska together and kind of create their life there. So if you read The Simple Weld, you'll know that Kella's mom and dad kind of went through the same thing. They moved to Alaska together. Her dad was originally from Alaska. So by her following the footsteps of her mom of going to Alaska with a guy she fell in love with, obviously she has to be careful and kind of figure out what it is that she really wants out of life. So the story is basically told of Kella and Jonah going back to Alaska and creating a life of their own. And a lot of people kind of are testing them. Even from the beginning, Kella gets told often by people that, you know, she really has to figure out what she wants to do or it's not going to work out, because it's sometimes not enough. So that's what we're going to see through this book. We see the journey of Kella and Jonah. I completely agree. Even in the beginning, when I started to read what was really happening and the fact that Jonah and Kella were going to move to Alaska, I did realize that Kella was doing a lot for him. You know, she was leaving her life behind in Toronto, which obviously we know through the book that she doesn't really know what she wants to do there anymore. She doesn't really know her purpose, but she's leaving to a completely different country. Even though they love each other and they really care about each other, sometimes it's not enough, and you have to figure out what you want to do and what you want to get out of there. So again, great K.A. Tucker book. I loved it. And lastly, the book that I read on Google Books was a book that was actually free and was I saw it on the Colleen Hoover story, and that is Passion and Venom by Shanora Williams. This book is crazy, and so warning, it does contain rape, kidnapping, brutal murders, and gory, horrible stuff. I was not prepared for that because I did not read that description. I almost did not want to read the book at some points from how gruesome it was, but it's a short book, it's a short story. So basically it has to do with the character named Gianna, who just got married. She's in a limo with her husband, and her husband gets murdered right in front of her. He gets shot, and this part of the book was very descriptive. So again, trigger warning. So I believe her husband was involved in the mafia, and they get married in Mexico, where there's like a rival cartel gang, and then they basically kidnap her. They hold her hostage in this like cell, cage, underground tunnel type of thing. I don't know, that's how I imagined it. And there she meets another person. She basically has to wait for this guy, this jefe, to come and see what he wants to do with her. Is he going to kill her? Is he going to use her? What is he going to do? We know right off the bat that Gianna is a very strong character. Her dad was involved in narcotics as well, or in the mafia. I don't know if her dad was in the mafia or in the cartel. And then we get to see her kind of go head to head with this other guy who they call El Jefe, but then we find out his name is Draco. There are a lot of things that Gianna uncovers, and there are a lot of things that she finds out about herself, her family, and the guy that she was married to. Moving on. Did I like this story? Probably not. I definitely thought, I'm not a big fan of narcotics, love stories, cartel love stories. Like, those are not really my thing. It's not something I romanticize, but I thought that for it being a cartel love story, it's okay. It's not a sappy, or I don't even know how to describe it. So compared to other books or other movies that I've seen with that, it's not horrible. I did like Gianna as a character. I thought she was funny and she's very strong. Draco was a horrible person, by the way. I don't know if I was supposed to root for him, but I was not rooting for him. Especially in some scenes, I was like, girl, get out of there. She couldn't, but I don't know. There's I think 2 other parts to this like series. There's like a trilogy to it. I don't know if I'm gonna read it. I definitely won't pay for it. This book was free, so hey. But it was a quick read. It wasn't bad. It also has some sexual scenes in there, so just keep that in mind when reading it if you decide to read it. But yeah, so not my favorite, but it was not horrible. Again, you guys, thank you so much for watching this video. I hope that you guys liked my wrap up for this month. I actually really liked the books that I got to read this month. They did not disappoint. I had a lot of great books. I hope you guys like this video. Stick around, and I will list all the books down below, my Instagram, and if you have any comments, leave them down below. Thank you guys so much.